Good afternoon and welcome to the Brown Bag Business Chat. Today we have the Contracts Manager for DFW International Airport, Ron Duncan, joining us. Ron's going to be talking about how small businesses can win contracts and do business with large public entities like the DFW International Airport. Ron, would you introduce yourself and tell us what you do there at the airport?
Well, again, Heather, thank you first of all for inviting me to this brown bag luncheon. I think it's a great idea, and I certainly appreciate the invitation and the opportunity to speak to small businesses about our business opportunities here at DFW Airport. What do? I manage a team, supervise, lead a team, if you will, of contract administrators that purchase goods and services to support one of the busiest airports in the world. And we purchase all types of products and services. We actually have at DFW Airport a procurement department, and we have an airport development and engineering department. And airport development and engineering concentrates on engineering, architectural, and construction services because there's plenty of work in that area to keep a team busy. The group that I manage actually procures everything else, from support services, purchase of goods. We buy just about everything you can imagine as far as the services to support this airport, because even though we're the third busiest airport in the world, we only have about 1,800 direct employees at the airport. And what we typically do is a lot of our services are outsourced, maintenance, electrical, plumbing, structural maintenance, HR services. There's a lot of things that we do that we depend upon third-party companies, and we're quite fortunate at DFW Airport, especially in the local area, to have one of the most vibrant business communities anywhere in the nation. And so we take advantage of that, and we're very excited about having all types of businesses. Yes, we do business with large companies, but we also do a lot of business with small companies. And one of the things that I would like to see is to have more small businesses become engaged in our bid opportunities. And in fact, it's one of the core goals of the airport to have small business enterprise engagement in our business. We actually have a small business enterprise goal overall of 15%, and I am proud to say that our small business engagement through either prime or subcontracts were at 25%. So we know that not only as an airport it's important to engage small businesses, but it's great for us as far as customer service and delivery of products and services that we need.
That's awesome. I mean, 25%, that's a lot.
It's a lot. We have approximately $1 billion of contracts in force right now through our department. Now, some of those are multi-year contracts and some of them are shorter-term contracts, but when you think about it, we spend in the hundreds of millions of dollars with small, minority, and woman-owned business enterprises. So we're very proud of that record. And it's not just because it's a goal to engage small, minority, and woman business enterprises. We found that these companies deliver on what we need. We specify what we need, and I have found that especially small businesses are much more nimble, and the decisions that are made locally. Oftentimes you're talking to the owner, which is terrific. Having been a person who's engaged with larger corporations and negotiating agreements with larger corporations, I can tell you it's quite frustrating sometimes to hear them say, well, I got to talk to 3 layers of senior management to get a decision. And what I love about small businesses is that you're often dealing with the owner or a senior level person within the company that can make a decision. You are sitting at the table with the person who's going to make the decision. And I also like the fact that, again, they are much more flexible, not as bureaucratic to get the work done. And I'll be frank with you, the small businesses do deliver. I mean, I think sometimes there's a concern that because we're one of the largest airports in the world, that there's not any interest in doing business with smaller companies. And I can tell you that is just not true. Yes, we do deal with some of the largest corporations in the country, if not the world, but we also deal with small businesses too. I'll give you an example. For our HR department, for our retirement accounts, we have an actuary that does work for us. It's a small business out of Plano called pensionbenefits.com. Again, small organization. Obviously, there's much bigger HR consulting firms out there that could do actuary service. But this is a small business. We've been doing business with them as a direct contractor for almost 10 years. And why? They're a good company. They're reasonably priced, and they deliver. And I don't know if you're large or small. That's what you're looking for in a business. That's what the airport's looking for. Are companies that can deliver on the goods and services that they've committed to delivering for us. And that's the bottom line.
Well, before we get too much further along here, I do want to remind people that if you're watching live, you can ask questions as we go along, and Ron will do his best to answer those through the Q&A app here in the Google Hangout. Or you can tweet your question to us using the hashtag BBBchat. So as you have questions or things that you want to add to the conversation, please feel free to send those in. We love including you guys in these conversations, and especially today, I think there's so much for our viewers to take away, and this is a great opportunity to really ask the questions that you normally don't get a chance to, so definitely take advantage of those. You've already answered a lot of my questions in your introduction.
Oh, I know.
Let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned just briefly kind of the types of products and services that you guys procure, but if we can go a little bit further into that, just to give people an idea of, dealing with an airport or a similar type of public entity, just the breadth of the products and services that you're really looking for from contractors.
Well, I mean, some of the different types of things is what you need to operate almost any business. I mean, the airport is a business, and so when you look at products, for example, something as simple as toilet paper and paper towels, you think, well, yeah, that's just small stuff, but we support providing those types of products to some of the terminals that directly touches our customers. We've got to have a reliable source of those products. And I'm proud to say that one of the companies that we do business with providing paper products is a small business, a small woman-owned business. It's called Torres Paper. And she's been doing business with us for approximately 7 years now. She has won, at first she didn't win contracts, but she started to win them after, 2 or 3 attempts. She got the kind of business relationship she needed with her distributors to have competitive pricing, and she's been able to deliver the goods. And that's important for us because it's important to our customers. The bottom line is we have to be able to be responsive to the traveling public. And with 62 million passengers going through the airport every year, they want toilet paper and they want hand towels. When they go in the restroom, that's exactly what they want. And I'm excited to see that a company like Torres Paper can deliver the goods. Light bulbs, that's another product. We buy about 100 different types of lamps and ballasts. And we've had small businesses involved with that. It's hard for me to kind of narrow everything we buy. We buy lots of uniforms, our police uniforms. We purchase uniforms for our staff that work at the parking locations. So they have a uniform look and fit. Um, we buy novelty items. We buy all types of services too. Uh, Again, I have 550 contracts, so it's hard for me to narrow down all the different types of things that we buy. But one of the things that you'll notice is if you do go to our website at www.dfwairport.com, upper right-hand corner you'll see icons called Business Opportunities. You can click on that. You'll go to a page that has a solicitation list that you can click on to. You can see the active bids that we have out there right now. Another thing you can do is register with the airport online. It takes about 15 minutes, but you can register your company online. You can identify the kinds of products or services that you provide. And whenever we have a bidding opportunity for those products or services, we can pull up your data and send you an email in advance letting you know that this request for bid or request for proposal is available at our website and give you the link to get to that particular document. You can review it and make a decision whether or not you want to participate. But number one thing I want to emphasize is that, yeah, we're a large airport, but we want to encourage small businesses to participate in our business opportunities. When I get feedback from the various departments that actually purchase these services or request that these services be purchased or the products, they tell me the same thing. They like the fact that they're dealing with small companies that can make a decision. And so part of my mission and my objective is to make sure that we get as many of those companies participating in our business opportunities as possible. So again, Heather, I just can't say enough how much I appreciate this opportunity. I will go over a couple of things real quick, just some common things that I think companies need to be prepared for. One of the things is insurance. A lot of times when we deal with small companies, we find that they don't carry sometimes adequate insurance. Most companies will hopefully have commercial general liability, workers' comp. If you have any employees, you have to have workers' comp. And automobile liability, typically at around $500,000. That's pretty standard, I think, for most medium-sized large organizations that are wanting companies to come in and do business with them. Sometimes we have unique types of insurance. If you're going to be working around airplanes, we have $10 million excess liability insurance. So depending upon the type of product or service, we'll have different insurance requirements. But that's one of the things sometimes I get small businesses telling me is that they don't carry a particular type of insurance. We tell you up front when we do a request for bid what type of insurance we need, and if you need to go out and purchase that insurance or at least get a quote on what it would cost to have that insurance. You don't have to have the insurance force when you bid, but if we do contract with you, you have to have the insurance in place, but you can at least go out and get a quote for what that insurance is, and you can incorporate that in the cost of your bid.
That's a really good point. I think a lot of small businesses probably feel like there's all these hurdles they need to jump through before they can even get to the point of bidding, and that process might be so costly that it's not worth it. So I think that's a really good point. What else do they need before they even really get started? Is there any other resources they should be checking, or kind of a few more things to put on that checklist of have these ducks in a row before you enter the bidding process?
Well, actually, the bid document itself will tell you a lot about what you need. And again, depending upon the type of product or services, it can be a little bit different. Sometimes you'll need to have bonding. Frankly, a lot of our contracts don't require bonding, but there are some that do. And again, that's an opportunity to work with an insurance company or a surety to make sure that you can meet the bonding requirements. A lot of times you need to have a good description of what your company does and what kind of team you put together to perform the services. One of the things I find interesting is A lot of times companies may be very small and be young. They haven't been in business for a long time, but the talent within the company is got years of experience, oftentimes decades of experience, having worked in some cases with larger organizations and created their own company in order to be more nimble and to serve a niche market. And so I think you need to emphasize those types of things, not so much that you're a small company or that you're a young company, but talk about your experience and why your company is capable of doing the work. As a background thing that you don't necessarily see or in the request for bid is, do you have the financial backing to perform the services? Oftentimes with public entities like DFW Airport or any city or county or school district, we cannot pay up front for products or services. Sometimes I get that question, and we can't do that. We have to pay for when it's received. So you have to be able to have the financial capability of floating the money, but also by state law, we have to pay you within 30 days. So it's not like, as a matter of fact, I have a lot of private sector companies say, I wish my private sector clients had that same requirement. But by law, Texas state law, we have to pay you net 30 for anything that's any product or service that's received and accepted. So I think one of the positive things is that you don't have to wait. In some cases, I've been told private companies will wait 90 days before they pay you. And you won't have that kind of issue with DFW Airport.
That's awesome. That's a really good point, too, that people need to be prepared to work on your terms as far as invoicing and not their own. I know a lot of times when we're doing business to business, we can kind of negotiate those payment terms per project, or pretty much say you're going to use my payment terms or we're not going to do business together, where that's a lot different going into your scenario where the small business is going to have to take whatever terms you have set, which in this case is net 30.
Well, and again, that net 30 is the max. We issue payments twice a week, so there are times when you can get paid prior to the 30-day period. So, and in some cases, companies will come to us and say, I'll give you a 1% discount if you pay me net 15, and we'll take advantage of that. So there is opportunity to get paid sooner, and again, companies oftentimes will offer some kind of percentage discount if they can get paid sooner, and we'll take advantage of that. I also think that one of the things that companies can do is look at subcontracting opportunities. And I know sometimes businesses don't want to subcontract, but it is a good way to build a reputation as a subcontractor. In fact, one of the interesting things, I gave the example of pension benefits earlier in our presentation. That company was actually a subcontractor to a larger HR consulting firm. And we were so impressed with their service, we were like, well, why don't we just buy it direct? And so we did. So I think subcontracting is a great opportunity for you to introduce your company to larger organizations, and then they see the kind of work that you do, and it gives them an opportunity to directly engage you in their request for bid and proposal opportunities. So, and with DFW Airport, I can't speak with other organizations, but with DFW Airport, by contract, once we pay a general contractor or a prime contractor, they have to pay you as a subcontractor within 7 calendar days. So they can't sit there and hold that money for a long period of time. They're going to pay you, or if they don't, they're in violation of their contract. And typically that's not an issue. A couple of times when people were too slow to pay, we've invoked that particular clause, and I've had to have some very direct conversations with some companies about getting their subcontractors paid within 7 days, and they do.
And so how would a small business go about finding larger organizations to sub with? Do you have any suggestions on that as far as, I know this is going to set up where we met, but maybe some networking opportunities, or is there anything directly through the airport that helps the primary contract holder and the subs actually connect with one another?
There's a couple of things you can do. One of the key things you can do is there's a pre-bid or pre-proposal conference you should attend. A lot of times you'll find that general or prime contractors are attending those pre-bid or pre-proposal conferences, and this gives you an opportunity to meet face-to-face with people who are going to be engaged as a prime contractor. Oftentimes during those conferences, myself or one of my staff, if they're holding that particular meeting, will ask companies, raise your hand if you're intending to bid as a sub, and then we give them an opportunity after the meeting to do a little meet and mingle, if you will, and get to know different companies that are going to bid as a prime if you're interested only as a sub. Another thing is you can get information about who has received the bid so that you can contact companies with regards to if you're a prime and I'm a sub, I'm a company that's interested in subbing this particular piece of the work. Mm-hmm. And because we often set goals for our solicitations, those prime contractors have a vested interest in getting your company or getting some kind of small business enterprise involved with their bid, because if it has a goal, they either have to meet the goal, exceed the goal, or they have to go through a 13-step process of showing a good faith effort. I can guarantee you that 13 steps, it's next to impossible. It's really very difficult threshold to meet. It can be met, but it's difficult, and it's frankly a lot easier just to partner with a company that's a small business enterprise to be engaged in our contracting opportunities. So that's something that you can do. And as you mentioned, Heather, you can network through professional organizations such as the Women's Business Council Southwest, Minority Supplier Development Council in Dallas. There's also one in Fort Worth. There are other chambers of commerce that are small business related. If you're a minority or woman-owned business, there are often organizations that are engaged with trying to support your minority or woman-owned business enterprise. And so that's a great opportunity. Again, Heather, that's how we met. So, it does work. Networking through professional organizations does work very well.
And so going back to the bid and the contract itself, can you give us a little bit of insight to how you actually select the winner of the bid? So obviously you guys aren't just basing it off of lowest price. What are the factors outside of, does it meet your requirement for working with small and women-owned, minority-owned businesses? Is the pricing, what we budgeted for? Does it make sense? And then where does everything else fall in as far as quality and other criteria that you have for actually selecting someone to do that project?
That's an excellent question. There's actually a couple of different things that a couple of different processes that we apply because, frankly, the state law somewhat defines how we have to approach awarding contracts. Texas state law requires, at least for the airport, for municipalities, that you award it to the lowest price responsible bidder. So it's not just having the lowest price, but you also have to be responsive. That means you're going to meet all of the requirements that are stated within the request for bid. We have a scope of work, and we tell you exactly what we need. Your company has to be able to respond to that without putting what I call qualifiers or conditions that would make it non-responsive. I can tell you, even earlier this week, we found a company. They provided the lowest bid, but they put conditions on their bid that made them non-responsive. So we're going to the second low bidder and reviewing their bid to see if it's responsive. So while price is a key factor when it's a request for bid process, you also have to be responsive. And if you're not responsive to the requirements then that are stated in each request for bid document, then you're not going to be awarded the contract. Now, we also have a request for proposal process, which is, I would say, a little bit more of a subjective measurement. We are required by law to tell you what evaluation criteria and what weight we're going to apply to each type of evaluation criteria. And it's based on a 100% scale, or it could be a 100-point scale. And typically, the diversity and inclusion, small business enterprise criteria make up 20 of the 100 points. So if you're not meeting the objectives, it's going to be very difficult for your company to be successful in getting a contract through a request for proposal process if you're not addressing the 20 of the 100 points. But the factors that we consider, price is typically around 15 to 20 points. So pricing is not the largest factor with regards to consideration of request for proposal. We primarily look at things such as responsiveness to the scope of work, the qualifications of the firm to perform the goods, perform the services, the management plan, how they're going to manage the services and the projects. We look at their ongoing customer support. What are they doing to make sure that once they get the contract and once they are delivering on the services, who's doing that quality control and making sure that the services are continuously being delivered appropriately and above or beyond expectations throughout the contract term. But those things are laid out in the request for proposal. Typically, it's in a heading called evaluation criteria. And you can read and review how those evaluation criteria are going to be, how they are spelled out in the RFP. And of course, different services will have different evaluation criteria. Mm-hmm. And the RFP process is typically done with regards to services. Consulting services, other types of professional services, IT services, custodial services are also done as a request for proposals. So, and we just recently started doing requests for proposals for custodial services. So it's one of those sensitive issues where actually we discovered that companies were, they were winning on low bid, but they couldn't keep their staff because they were paying them so poorly.
Right.
And so doing an RFP process and being able to award to other than the lowest price proposal gave us an opportunity to review their staffing plans, look at how they are pricing their staff to make sure it's market competitive, and to see what kind of methodology they use for training their staff for appropriate cleaning, how they are scheduling them for different shifts to see if there's sufficient staffing, what kind of things do they do to give incentives to staff for good performance, what kind of management plan do they have to make sure quality control is there. So they can be almost a turnkey operation. We can basically hand it over to the custodial firm and not have to worry or do a lot of heavy oversight, and know that the facilities will be clean and presentable and project a positive image of DFW Airport.
And so if someone has, let's say, a product or service that they feel like would just be perfect for the airport, mm-hmm. but there's not an open bid or call for proposals on that product or service, is it kind of a waiting game, or is there a way to introduce that and say, hey, I think this would be a great fit for you guys? How do I go through the process if there's not anything open at the time?
There's a couple of answers for that question. One piece is the registration that I mentioned earlier, registering online with the airport, identifying the kind of products or services that you sell. And once you're registered, and as long as we have a good email address and you've identified the right products and services, uh, then you'll get that email notification in advance when one of our customers, when I talk about a customer here at the airport, I'm talking about uh, the one of the 30 departments that are out here at the airport that actually budget and order these services and are the direct benefactor of those services. So um, when they have a need, what they'll do is say, well, here's the scope of work that we want done, or here's the types of products that we need to purchase. And they submit that information along with what we call a requisition for funding. Now, one of the things, Heather, that we feel is important is to make sure that we're not sending your companies on a wild goose chase, working hard, putting together bids and proposals, and then you submit it and, well, we just want to know what the price was. We don't have any money to pay for it. One of the things that we insist upon here is to make sure that departments have these types of things funded. So uh, when I get a requisite, what we call a rec and a spec, I get a requisition for funding and a specification to have an understanding of what they need, then we will do the request for bid or proposal. One of my contract administrators or one of the buyers will go out and do a competitive quote or request for bid or proposal for that product or service. That way, when you are responding to a request for bid or proposal, you'll know that there's money to back it up and that that is something that really is in demand. Uh, the second part of your question was, is there something available as far as having an opportunity to show a terrific product or service that you have available to you? My answer for that is yes, you can do that. Probably one of my jobs, even though I get dozens of emails daily, I do pay attention to these the companies who say that I've got something that's unique that maybe you don't even know that's out there on the market, but that can meet the needs of your business. And what I often do is try to gather some information about that product and then identify the appropriate airport department that may be a good end user for it. And frankly, just last week, Senior Contract Administrator Bill Ellis met with a company that did just that. I asked him to meet with them direct because he works with the department that actually would purchase that type of product, and it gives us an opportunity to review and see if this is something that would be applicable to us. Now, sometimes there is a waiting game. Your product may be something that was not budgeted, or your service was not budgeted. As you can imagine, just like with any private company or even public entity, we all have to work within budgets. And so while we may not be able to do something in the near term with what you're offering, if it's not part of our budget, it gives us an opportunity to include that as part of a budget request in a future fiscal year. I know that sounds a bit discouraging, but to be honest with you, we have to work within budgets just like any other business. But if we don't know about it, then we don't know the budget for it. So you may not get immediate satisfaction, or if it's something that's so terrific that they're able to make a budget adjustment, they may do that in order to obtain that product. But oftentimes, people need to keep in mind that as a public entity and as part of the public trust, we do have to competitively bid or quote or solicit for goods and services. We oftentimes cannot just do a direct, you introduce your product and then I go, oh, I'll go ahead and buy it from you and spend tens of thousands of dollars. I can't do that, primarily because the public bidding laws don't allow me to do that. So, but there are some cases, if it's a sole source, if it's only available from one company, and the sole source justification can be documented, we can buy direct in that circumstance without a solicitation process. And that's true for almost any public entity. The key is having the right kind of documentation to support that, so that I call it passing the channel 4, 5, 8, 11 test. You know, nobody wants to be on TV trying to explain why you spent thousands upon thousands of dollars and didn't compete it. I want to be able to show this is why I didn't compete it, or yes, we did compete it, and this company provided us the lowest price responsible bid, or the best value with regards to a proposal. So.
Fantastic. Well, we're coming up on our 30-minute mark. In fact, I think we passed it. Is there any other information, anything that you want to add that we didn't get a chance to discuss that you think would be helpful to the small business owners and sales managers out there?
The key, I think, is when you get a request for bid, respond to what it asks for. You may be surprised. Sometimes we'll get people that will offer alternatives. Sometimes alternatives will not work. So in some cases, if it's very specific, if it's a no substitute, make sure you're not offering a substitute. Secondly, you're not always going to get awarded the first time. I think a lot of small businesses understand that sometimes it takes 2 or 3 efforts in order to finally get your foot in the door, but that can happen. I think about our temp staffing services contract as an example. We had a small woman-owned business that kept on trying, and finally ABBA Staffing became our provider. We contracted with her for nearly 5 years and spent almost $20 million in temp services with her. So, but she didn't get it awarded the first time. She kept trying. She learned. She sharpened her pencil. She looked at ways to add value, and she's done a great job for us. Her and her team have done a great job. So I have to say that you have to be persistent, which I think a lot of small businesses are by nature. They are very persistent people. It's a great quality. And again, you have to be willing to participate. You have to be willing to. Sometimes our bid documents look quite thick, and there's lots of terminology in there. But and the bottom line is, if you deliver on the product and service, a lot of that contract language it's not going to matter because you're delivering. Obviously, when we sign a contract, that language is important. It is there to protect the airport. Frankly, it's also there to help protect the business as well. It establishes the business relationship, and again, I would just say, if you can't get engaged with a prime contractor to direct sell, look at subcontracting opportunities. And public entities have to publish their bidding opportunities. So check your newspapers, check the websites of the cities and counties and school districts, and look for those opportunities that are there. Again, when we have pre-bid or pre-proposal conferences, make sure you attend. Learn directly what we're looking for. A lot of times we verbalize the things that we put in writing, and sometimes that helps the understanding. We help give you context of why we're wanting to buy these products or services, and a lot of that comes out through the pre-bid conference. If you are a finalist and you're asked to interview, be very prepared, not only with just your company, engage the people who are going to be working on site. One of the things I find sometimes is companies will submit their marketing people, but they're not the people that are going to be doing the work on site. Make sure that you've got the team that you're going to have working on site at an interview session so that they can meet and greet with the folks that are on the evaluation team. Because frankly, the evaluation team are typically the people that you're going to be working with directly to get the contract. So have the right people at the interview session. And again, we have an open process. There's no tricks. There's no knowing this person or that person will get you the inside track. As a public entity, we have an open process. We do business and we award contracts to companies that we've never done business before with. Frankly, at least 25% of the time, because we're meeting our SBE goal or exceeding our SBE goal and getting 25% participation. And we're very proud of that fact, and that's why I think if you have an opportunity to do business with DFW Airport, we would love to see people who are engaged with this brown bag luncheon to give us that opportunity to do business with us. I love small businesses. I love how they're nimble. I love the decision making being local. I love how they are able to be driven to customer service. And they can build quite a positive business relationship with the airport that they can market with other clients or potential clients. I mean, let's face it, a lot of companies know what DFW Airport is. They know where we're at. They know who we are. Most businesses travel, and in many cases, they'll travel through DFW Airport. Yeah, they go to that love field area too, but but we do have lots of business travelers through here. So you can take, once you get a contract with the airport, you can, and you perform well, you can take that reference and build your business. And we're more than happy to help build small businesses.
That is awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time today. I know we went a little bit over, so I hope we haven't cut into anything important for you, but really appreciate your time. People that have questions, follow-up, I know you earlier gave the website address, but if you would restate that in any other way that they can either reach you or someone on your team with questions they have in the future, then that would be great.
Well, I would offer to anybody that if you want to know how to register through DFW Airport, I'm personally committed to see that happens. We have a person here on our team that helps on the registration side, but if you'll send to me your contact information, send it to my email address at rduncan@dfwairport.com. I'll be more than happy to email back to you the links and the steps in order to get registered. I think that if I'm going to come up here and say, I'd like for you to get engaged, I need to be able to give you that information, and that might be the easiest way for me to give you those step-by-step instructions, is for you to send me an email. I'll be more than happy to respond to it.
Very good. Well, thank you again. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Hopefully I'll see you around as I move through my membership process with the Southwest Business Council. But thank you again, and we will see everyone back here at noon Central next Wednesday.
All right. Thank you, Heather. I appreciate this opportunity, and y'all, everybody have a wonderful holiday this year.